And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Come on in. Come on in. Some of y'all quiet people that don't comment. You come on in here and let me know where you're coming from. Come on in. Come on in. Where you coming from? We're in week number 73 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Man, where did 73 weeks go? I don't know. I have no idea, but it went. And here we are. Who we got here? We got Dr. Greg Baker, Demetrius Scott, my man. We got Arcella Austri, Lakeisha Mabry, Yolanda McKinney. She changed her handle a little bit there. Janine Wilkins, Arcella Austri. I think I said Lisa Holly Beaumont is in the building. Asia Burnett's in the building. We got Tisha Williams Vaughn in the building, Rodney Williams in the building, Melissa Jones, Anthony Russell is in the building. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Katrina Washington is in the building. Michael Benton's in the building. My wife, Kimberly Broughton Kafele, is in the building. We got Char Mills in the building. I said Michael Benton, that's my man out in Cincinnati. Melissa Jones Chunu is in the building. Anthony Russell, cousin Chanel Henry Wright is in the building. Good to see you. We got Tanya Will 1203. We got who else? We got Rashard Davis. Come on in, folks. Let them know. Let them know we're here. Hit that share button. Hit that retweet button. Let them know we're in week 73. I'm not playing with this thing. We ain't playing. This is 73 consecutive weeks. Some of y'all didn't know that for a couple of them weeks, I wasn't even feeling well. I just faked the funk and you thought I was all right, but I wasn't, right? But I said, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep it going. Some of y'all don't know what I just said when I said fake the funk. You're going to have to Google Parliament Funkadelic. Like, this, I ain't doing Sigma right here. This is P-Funk, right? But you don't know what that is. You're going to have to do your homework to understand that. I'm a funketeer for life. But you don't know what I'm talking about. You're going to have to Google that one, right? Tara Pickett's in the building. Nicklin West is in the building. Man, I see some new names on here. Anasita Sugalan, I bet y'all got that right, is in the building. What else we got here? I just hit my screen too hard. The names got all big on me. Principal Josh Tovar is in the building. He said, Heffy jumping in Memorial Pathway Academy. Okay, all right, I hear that. But you on fire. Yes, sir. Puani Graham is in the building. Oakley Darrell is in the building. That's Darrell Oakley, I guess it is. I see Miss Yolanda McKinney went back to the old handle. You must be watching on two different platforms. That's what it is. Jennifer Bortvit Mapes is in the building. John Hurix is in the building. Kathy Walker. Waltrude Brown is in the building. Shonda Richardson, I think I said that one. Yeah, Josh, you know that, man. We ain't faking no funk here. Lavelle Johnson is in the building. Shanita Ross. Crystal Cofield Davis is in the building. Raquel Squall, Jocelyn Nelson, Rochelle Gina Wilson, Jasmine Harris, my man King Walker. I know I'm mispronouncing. You're gonna have to give me the phonetics on that so that I can do that right. Right. Darius Peterson is in the building. My man, Dr. Vincent Stallings, Dr. Principal Vincent Stallings is in the building. Lysandra Brackens is in the building. Nierka Coy Bush is in the building. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Hit the share button, somebody. Hit the retweet button, somebody. I know school is back in session, and we're making sure that we're addressing some of those current needs. So let me say this to you. It's 11 o'clock, y'all. It's 11 o'clock. So I don't want to keep the shout out a second longer because we got a lot to talk about, man. We got special guests in the waiting room. So let me say to you formally, good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 73 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. And I don't know about you, but I think I know. I think I know just by the fact that you're here. But we can all only speak for ourselves, right? Like we think we know other people and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the only person you can really speak for is yourself. So I hope you feel like I do, because I want you to know how I feel despite all the challenges, despite all the obstacles, despite all the pressures, despite all the demands. I'm on fire. Y'all ain't hear me, man. It's I had some stuff this week. It's I had one of them days like, all right, man, you've done this for a long time. You want to make a pivot, like maybe there's something else you can do, like this Jets thing, flying these jets, these flight delays, these cancellations, these driving all night, these sometimes these audiences that you don't know if they feeling you or not. Like what else could you do? But then I catch myself, right? And I say, no, I'm good because I'm on fire. Woo! That's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling. Because I had like 5 hours in this airport, right, waiting for the next flight. And my mind had enough time to say, like, what's your options? Like maybe superintendent, right? I'm thinking all that stuff. Maybe it's time to be a superintendent. Who wants to sit up in this hotel like this, man? I mean, this airport like this for all these hours. But then I caught myself. I said, man, you walking in your purpose, man. What are you talking about? Snap out of it, man. Let's go. So look, y'all, let me give you this quick message. Motivational message for September 18. Anticipating the unexpected. Once again, anticipating the unexpected. What am I saying? I'm saying that like you wake up in the morning, we think things are going to be the way we want them to be. We don't realize there's something that came out of left field. Let's go this hand. Left field came up. You got to anticipate that, though. I mean, wake up expecting the best. You hear me? Wake up expecting the best possible day, but anticipate some madness. That's what I'm saying. Anticipate some stuff, some BS. Anticipate that because it may happen. So now you mentally prepare whatever crap comes my way, whatever crap you might bring. I'm ready for that. Although I was expecting better, but I'm anticipating whatever you might bring my way. So I'm saying to you, some of us on the call, you need to hear that. Because you expecting and anticipating just things to be perfect all day. It just don't work that way in the real world all the time. So yes, I wake up with expectancy. I expect that I'm going to be at another level by the end of the day. Matter of fact, I got to open my button. Those already open, man. And matter of fact, not even the end of the day, I'm going to rise within the next hour. The next hour. I'm expecting greatness from myself, but I'm anticipating some obstacles. I'm anticipating some roadblocks. I'm anticipating some negative spirit come my way, some negative people bringing their mess. I'm anticipating that, but I'm expecting excellence. Hold on to that, y'all. Look here, y'all. We're going to be self-reflective as always. Stay locked in and locked down because I got some guests today. It ain't about my message today. I got some guests today that's going to show you how to knock it out the park. Whether it be just a home run with no one on base, a home run with 2 people on bases, a home run with 3 people on bases, which is a grand slam. That's what we got today. So without further ado, let me hit these quick announcements. Thoughts and prayers to those of you out there who are in the path of Hurricane Nicholas, right? And I might add Ida, because there's still people suffering from that. In fact, I'm suffering from it, right? I had to clean my basement all week, even cut myself, got a deep gash in my finger, man, with a knife. Right. So we still, I'm looking at Melina on here. Good morning to you, Melina. And I've been reading the post. Her whole house had to be gutted. She down there near New Orleans. Her whole house had to be gutted, but she was posting positive stuff. I mean, I want y'all to hear me for a second. I wasn't even gonna go in this direction. Melina Valentine is on the call right now. Y'all remember her, right? So the house had to be gutted. She stayed in a hotel all week. Went back home. They gutting the house. Her birthday happened during the time she came back. And she could have been on there. Oh my God. Oh my God. She could have done that justifiably. She was putting positive energy out there, y'all. She knew what she was going to walk into. So you got to expect it, but you anticipate whatever those challenges may be, right? So thoughts and prayers to all the folks impacted by Hurricane Ida, all the folks impacted. I see you, Darren Green. All the folks impacted by Hurricane Nicholas. Let me keep moving. Welcome to the first timers. Some of y'all first timers, you know, you hear me live when I'm at your, you know, your school, your conference, when we're doing something virtual. And I know it throws you for a loop when you catch me on here, right? Because, you know, I'm a little different. You know, they ain't nobody paying me to do this. So I can now be like me, raw, right? Uncut, right? I can be me. So it's a little bit different, but it's still the same me, right? So let's keep moving. The Sunday commentary. Some of y'all sleeping on that. The virtual AP Leadership Academy is 2 parts. It's Saturday, the broadcast, but it's Sunday too, the writing. I write a blog post, but I don't put it on my blog site. I put it on the virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page. Every morning, I try to meet a 10 o'clock deadline. I've been good with it for the past few weeks now. 10 o'clock a.m. deadline of getting it done. I get up early, write whatever's in my head, my spirit, put it on there. I'm just trying to help somebody, man. I'm trying to help somebody get through the storm. And you know I'm not asking for a dime to do it. It's just something that I do, man. So make sure you like and follow that Facebook page so you don't miss out on the written commentary that accompanies the Saturday broadcast. So it's the Saturday Academy and the Sunday commentary, right? Let's keep it moving. Hey, y'all, this thing is red hot. It's unbelievable. I mean, I expected, you know, when we talk about expectancy, I expected it to be blazing, but my God, right? Get yourself a copy if you don't have it. The Equity and Social Justice Education 50. Get your copy. And then while you're at it, the Assistant Principal 50. And while you're at it, the Aspiring Principal 50. I won't pull these other books off the shelf, but Amazon, Barnes & Noble, principalkafele.com, ASCD, the publisher.org, right? Hey, y'all, Sean Hurt, normally at 10 o'clock, he on assignment this morning, but normally 10 o'clock Facebook. Sheka Houston, Tammy Taylor, Create and Educate, 10:30, who's with us today, and Unlock the Middle, Josh Tovar and the crew on Sundays. So 10 o'clock, Sean, 10:30, Create and Educate, Josh Tovar, Sunday night at 7 o'clock, and the crew. I'm done, y'all. Exhale. All right, bring it down. Here we go, y'all. We got a lot of stuff. Listen, I'm, you know, I don't know how long we're gonna go today, but I'm gonna tell you something. I was listening to this interview when I was doing my walk yesterday and today. It was that show, All the Smoke. Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. It's on YouTube, Showtime Basketball YouTube, and they were interviewing Cam Newton. And I noticed the interview was 1 hour and 42 minutes long. And Cam has his own show, right, called Sip and Smoke, right? And Cam said something that resonated with me. He said, I like doing this podcast because I could sit back and be organic and just let it flow, regardless of how long it takes. And I thought about how I go over a lot, like I go over all the time. But I thought about how the ones I went like way over, like 2 hours. And when he said that, you know, I just want to sit back and talk and have an organic flow and whatever, however long it takes. And I said to myself, bam, because sometimes I'm like rushing to get off. Y'all know that, right? I'm not doing that no more. I needed to hear Cam say that. Whatever I got in my notes from now on, I'm going to take my daggone time, right? And folks who just don't have time to listen to it, catch it later. catch it on YouTube, catch it on Facebook, catch it on Twitter. But I ain't trying to meet no more deadlines. Right. I mean, I could see if if this was some paid thing and I got to get it done by X number of times because a breakout session is this ain't that. I'm home. I'm just going to let it flow. And when it's done, it's done. Right. If folks got to go, I understand, but I ain't going. Right. So like I'm just going to take my time. Like Luther Vandross said, I'm going to take my time singing these love songs. Right. That's what he said. So I'm just going to take my time with these interviews. I ain't rushing these. So, because I got some guests on here that I'm ready to bring up now. I'm finished all my announcements. It's called, my topic today is leading resilient schools. Leading resilient schools. It's actually called building and leading resilient schools, but YouTube only allows 100 characters. So I had to reduce the title. But it's actually building and leading resilient schools. I had to cut it down for that reason. With Dr. Sheka Houston and Principal Tammy Taylor. They've been in the trenches for a long time. Y'all notice I only bring people on that been in the trenches, man. I ain't looking for no motivational speaker and you ain't done this work. That ain't never gonna happen. I'm looking for people who have done this work that the audience can say, I can relate because you know what I do. You feel you understand what I do because you do. I ain't bringing no gift to gab folks that ain't done this work. I no disrespect to them, but this just ain't the platform, right? So with that said, I want to read this bio for you real quick. I was getting ready to bring them up here, but let me read the bio. In fact, I ain't gonna bring them up yet. I'm gonna read the bio. Let me read the bio. Here we go. I got so many papers in front of me. Here we go. Dr. Sheka Houston and Principal Tammy Taylor are best-selling, contributing authors of Women Who Lead in Education featuring School Principals, Volume 3, Second Edition. They are also co-founders of Create and Educate, LLC, an education and literary firm that offers resources to schools to include professional development and a catalog of culturally relevant book titles for school-aged children from independent authors. The school leaders have 40 years of experience in education between the two of them, with experience in charter school startups, as well as instituting Avid and Leader in Me as school initiatives. In addition, the duo were recipients of the South Carolina, I know I'm a mess this word up, I should know it, Palmetto Silver Award is one of the two, for academic growth. Moved 2 and 3 report card levels in 1 year. I need to read that again. Moved 2 and 3 report card levels in 1 year. Won the Palmetto State Arts Education STEAM School of Excellence Award and Teacher of the Year. Like I said, I bring heavy hitters on, right? After experiencing tremendous academic growth, NWEA conducted a case study that is featured on the website. I'll turn that off in a minute. Most recently, Dr. Houston and Principal Taylor have a new book that will be released December 2021. And we're going to talk about that. It's called It Doesn't Have to Be Lonely at the Top, The Power of Collaboration in Education, in Leadership, that outlines their story of resiliency in their leadership journey. Their weekly Facebook Live series, The Collaborative, exhibits this notion, as well as their Saturday professional development series. Copies can be reserved today on their website, createandfollow.solutions. Again, createandfollow.solutions. So without further ado, I bring to the broadcast Dr. Sheka Houston and Principal Tammy Taylor. I could call Dr. Houston Principal as well because she just left it to now support principal. So once a principal, you're always a principal. It's always in your blood. So with that said, good morning to both of you.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, Principal Kafele.
Great to have you here. Been watching you for a while at 10:30, and now here you are on the platform. Glad to have you here. You know, before we get into it, I just want you to talk to them a little bit because it's coming soon, very soon. The Lunch and Learn.
Okay.
Talk to the crew about the Lunch and Learn real quick.
All right, and good morning, virtual AP Leadership Academy. We are honored to be before you this morning with Principal Kafele on his platform. We decided to, because what was happening in education and what we had been seeing through social media, through talking with our colleagues, people were having a rough time of starting back in leadership, leading through the pandemic. There's lots of challenges there that a lot of people, there's no playbook for this. This is the first time we've all done this. So we want to make sure the people who are developing leadership programs and developing leaders really hear what is happening in the schools so that they can better inform and prepare leaders for what we're going through right now. Because to be honest, it doesn't look like a lot of the things that are happening and shifting. These things look like they're going to be permanent shifts. So it's called Preparing for the Education Shift with Create and Educate. This will be our first on-site event. So it is on site at the Catawba Falls Event Center in Lancaster, South Carolina, but it's a hybrid event, so you can join us virtually as well. We have university professors with us, Dr. Sheka, Dr. Gil Noam from Harvard University, and several leaders from USC here in South Carolina. So joining us with leaders who will be explaining what this has been like, and us coming together to have a real conversation around it and what's needed to support leaders, because we don't think that right now people know exactly, how to do this during this time. So some people are doing a great job with it, but some people need some help.
Absolutely. And as Sheka said, we're very excited about the conversation. And we know that it will be impactful to help us with leading right now. However, we are so excited about the implications for what it can mean for future preparation programs where leaders can actually we can maybe see some changes in the way that leadership programs are preparing leaders for what Principal Kafele talked about this morning, the unanticipated.
Yes.
We've got to start to prepare for that to be the mentality that we send administrators into schools with. There are going to be unexpected things that come up, and we have to be resilient enough to work our way through them.
Absolutely. Well, that's oh, you go ahead, Doc.
Oh, I was just going to say definitely. And I've put the website where people can register in the chat, and we'll get that in the comments.
Sounds good. Hey, folks, good stuff. You want to take advantage of that. And we got a lot to talk about today. So like I said, I'm going to take my time. I left this one name on the screen deliberately. When royalty stops by, I got to acknowledge it. This is my guy. This is Principal Tammy Welch. He was a former Georgia State Principal of the Year. So he and I haven't even talked about this broadcast, but he'll be on. He just later, but he'll be on. But today the focus is these superstars: Principal Dr. Sheka Houston and Principal Tammy Taylor. So let's jump into it, y'all. And I'll throw the questions. You guys can choose who wants to go first, unless there was one I got specifically for one of you. But I'm just going to throw them out there like that, and you guys can both kind of do them both. I've been noticing on social media various different principal pages on my page, and also just in interacting with principals. There's a theme there. And folks, I know here in Jersey, there's this common theme, common thread I'm noticing that I've never seen before. And what it is, the volume of principals who are writing on social media that they are exhausted, right? They were saying, especially yesterday, I was seeing it more so yesterday than the other days of the week, like things like, this is a different, it's Friday, and this is a different kind of exhausted, right? And I'm saying, first I thought it was like one or two, but then it just kept going. I'm really exhausted. I wanted to ask the two of you, what kind of advice would you have for that individual? Because we understand why it is in the context of the times in which we exist in right now. But what advice might you have for someone who's just feeling like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm feeling exhausted?
I noticed that as well, Principal Kafele. That first week we went back to school, I talked and I stay connected to everyone that I've worked with, my principal, assistant principal colleagues. You know, we talk regularly, and they were like, you know, Sheka, this feels like June. It was the first week of school. And I'm like, man, you know, that's tough for it to be, because usually that first week of school, you're like ready to go, you're revived. And I think in our area, with the number of people that have been out with all of we're in a no mask mandate state, that just really weighed on people. We kind of had the thinking of this year, you know, all of that's behind us. We're going forward with this new year. We're starting fresh. And then it's kind of like, wow, we back. We're worse off than we were. So I did text my superintendent to let him know, because I think, you know, for one thing, we have to be in tune to our people. I wanted him to know, you know, we're having a hard time out here in the buildings. We've got to keep check on them. We've got to make sure that we're not just checking in to say how you're doing. Even some things where we like tapping out. Hey, take you a day or something. I'm gonna come in and fill in for you today. Because see, I really need to know, now that I'm at the district level, I need to know what you're going through too, so I can know how to better support you. So from our lens at the district level, I think we've got to stay connected to the people. We've got to stay in tune. We've got to be in the buildings to understand what's happening, because if you're not there, you don't know. But for the principals, you know, make sure you're not just sitting back saying, I'm supposed to be able to do this. You got to reach out for help. You got to tell us so we'll know that you need support.
Absolutely. And one thing that I would add, because she could spot on, it feels like we've been working for 36 months because the weight of all that is so heavy to carry. But I would just encourage you, leaders, and I tell my teachers this, make some space for yourself. Like it gets really overwhelming, and it does exhaust, like it drains every bit of the energy that you have. So you might have to step outside and take a lap around the building just to clear your mind, so you can come back with the mindset to finish the day, because you can't be so hard on yourself that you expect that you should know, or you should be able to manage this. That isn't the space that we're leading in right now. You have to make some space to be mentally able to do the work that you have to do to support students, to support parents, and more importantly, to support your staff, because they're the ones, as Principal Kafele said, who are in the trench right now. They're in that classroom space where we are expecting learning to be taking place, and they're having to deal with the immediate needs that the students have that are not related to any academic expectations that we might have for kids right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I would even add to it, leaders nowadays, educators at all levels, but since we're a leadership platform, particularly have to maximize their downtime. Mm-hmm. I think about myself as a leader during my leadership years, and I did not maximize that time. That was work at home. And it's some, in the context of now and all the challenges that accompany it, we got to make sure that we maximize that time that we're not in the building. When you talk about being exhausted, the way that so many have expressed themselves. So, great stuff. So let me add on to that question. Here's the other one I've been seeing: frustration. The volume of leaders who are just expressing frustration with the job. Like one of my guys who will also be on this platform, Principal Ronnie Harvey, out in Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana. He may be on here too. He was teaching classes last week. I think he was teaching math, and he was using some of my videos as well, and some of my student videos. And just because there's, as you all know, I don't have to preach the sermon, there's a shortage of teachers. So, but there's also a shortage of substitute teachers, right? So now you've got this leader who's justifiably tired, but perhaps frustrated as well. Like, I didn't sign up for this. What would you say to that leader that's, just wearing all those extra hats now and does feel that level of frustration?
And our leaders they're doing the same thing. Teachers and staff members are out. Just like you said, just being able to, it's okay to be frustrated, number one. No one is expecting that you just carry all of this and you're just not experiencing natural emotions. It is frustrating because you expect to go in, you have this plan, and because I'm a natural planner, I'm used to that, and you want it to go a certain way, but when it's off kilter, it is frustrating. But like you said, just maximizing that time, that space. I like to walk, so I've been taking a lot of walks lately, making sure that the things that are important to you when you leave that space, making sure that you're doing them. But again, with the people that are supporting you, make sure that they know, hey, I need some extra hands. I need some support. And those of us in those places where we're supporting leaders, we've got to really be providing that true support. Instead of you wearing the hat today, I'm gonna come down and wear it.
I think too, Sheka, and you can agree or disagree, but I think that it's also appropriate for us probably to say here that frustration comes in all. I mean, this is a frustrating time, but there are other frustrations that happen, and you really need somebody who you're able to be completely transparent with, and you need that trust mate so that you can relieve yourself of all of those things and be just completely honest and raw about exactly what you're going on and how you're feeling, and not have to worry about who's going to hear what you said or who's going to know how you're feeling. Just allow yourself the space to be honest and open about what has you frustrated. And sometimes, and I'm just going to tell you from the perspective of the teachers in my building, I tell them, if this is more frustrating for you, then you can unload on me and I help you to feel better. If the trust mate doesn't work, when I was going through some things, and Sheka likewise, we were able to rely on one another and hold each other accountable and say, hey, you can make it. I got you. What do you need me to do to help you get through this? If that isn't enough, reach out to your employee assistance folks, and because this is the time to clear your head so that you are able to move forward and not let that defeat you, because it's enough to weigh you down.
And I'm gonna just add to that, because we're gonna keep it real this morning. We're women of faith, so there is nothing that is too hard, where you've got to rely on your faith to get you through some of these things, that these uncharted waters that we are in. And that's really what has been the thing that has gotten me through a lot of this.
Absolutely. And I think too, just having that, knowing that you have to sometimes retreat within to re-energize yourself. Some people get their energy from the outside, other people get their energy intrinsically. I'm a person who renews from within. I don't need a lot of people to help me to get back to that space that I operate best in. But if that isn't you and you need the benefit of other people, put yourself in that space. Go to dinner. We would put everything down when we were in the middle of a catastrophic storm that was raging all around us. And we tell this story in our book that I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about before this is all over. But we share this because, again, it's about being transparent and being honest so that we can help other people. we would call and say, you know what, I can't do anymore. Like, I'm done. I'm done for the day. Let's go. We take off and go somewhere and just sit down and eat. I left every single thing that I had on the desk. She did too. Just to clear that space so that you can regroup, because there are a lot of people counting on you.
Man, let me tell y'all something. You guys reading these comments I'm posting here?
Yes.
That, you know, two things happening. Number one, it's a lot of people feeling that frustration and that exhaustion. But secondly, it's a lot of people feeling what you're providing, right? And that's why you, myself, Sean, and so many others, Josh, do this work, right? Because it's necessary work. So with that, and you mentioned the book title. The title of your forthcoming book, it doesn't have to be lonely at the top, right? And I'm not even going to say the subtitle right now because I don't want to. I'm gonna let you bring that in. It doesn't have to be lonely at the top. We all know that it certainly feels that way. We know that. I mean, I remember those days, and that's including having assistant principal. But the buck doesn't stop with the assistant principal, so it felt lonely. So given, I know what your subtitle is. It's actually written right here, but I'm not going to mention it. I'm going to say to you, what message are you conveying through this title of It Doesn't Have to Be Lonely at the Top? What point are you making with that?
The main point, Principal Kafele, a lot of principals, really, we exist in this culture that has been created that really makes you feel like you're supposed to have all of the answers when you go into the principalship. You're supposed to know how everything goes, and if it's not going the way it should go, it's on you. Like you said, the buck stops with you, the principal. And like Tammy just mentioned, that's a lot of weight, especially in the times that we're leading through right now, and even before this pandemic, because we came up with that during the time that we were going through our first year principalship journey, which it was a trying time. But if we didn't have one another, we would not have made it through that process together. So we want to send a message to people. Don't sit there by yourself in a silo thinking that you have to come up with all of the answers, because you should not be expected to have them all. No one has all of the answers. We've got to work together to come up with these answers. So just really sending that message home, reach out, get you a trust mate, because that's what we were to one another. And that's how we got through our journey.
And that power of collaboration and leadership, which Principal Kafele referred to as that subtitle, is intentional because, as Sheka said, the collaboration that we were able to forge between the two of us, that we are friends. We were friends before we were in the principalship, and that, of course, I'm sure added to the fact that she was somebody that I would naturally acclimate towards because we were friends before. However, what we were also able to rely upon at that time was a very similar experience that connected us in a way that we weren't necessarily connected before. That collaboration piece was crucial because, as Sheka said, we were facing lots of different situations, and the answer always was the same. You should know. You're the principal of the school. You should know this. This is your responsibility. So you should know. But at the same time, nobody was telling you. So how do you know if you aren't being told what you need to know? So you're in this juxtaposed position of I'm supposed to know something that I don't know. And that again goes back to this conversation that we want to have with university leadership, because we're trying to figure out, like, how should you know this? If this is the first time that you've done this, how would you know if nobody's ever told you? So what we had to do is figure out how to do it. And that is when we were able to meet and be introduced to some amazing and incredible people who really changed our perspective on not just learning how to collaborate with one another, but on understanding that there are answers out there. There are people who have done this work, who have received numerous awards for it, Principal Kafele. And we were just starting to kind of like have to wrap our minds around, if nobody's telling you, then we're going to have to figure out where the answers are. We got to go get them. And I'll share this now, just so that you know, because I know that that the work you do is important, but I don't know if you recognize how many people you impact, because you have such a large influence over so many people. But for the two of us, you saved us from, we both came out of business. We both have business backgrounds, and guess where we were going back to? Business. Like this is, I don't even know if it's worth this. Like, you don't know what to do and nobody's telling you what to do, but you're expected to be doing it. I don't think this is what we need to do. I received, and thank the Lord for Tammy Moy Johnson. She sent us a flyer that said this amazing speaker is going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we thought, you know what, we could almost walk to Charlotte. Let's go and hear what this fella has to say. We had signed up for a special leadership session with you, and there were 8 of us in the room. So you are just pouring into us. And you looked at me, and you really probably weren't looking at me, and you asked a rhetorical question, and you said, is your school a better school because you lead it, young lady? And I was just, in my mind, I'm starting to like, is it? Like, I hope it is. And I'm trying to wrap my mind around, because like, again, all these things we don't know. I think it is. I hope it is. And all the way home, Sheka and I were bouncing back, yeah, it is better because of this. But you know what? I don't know if it's better or not, because here we are in this particular predicament. Right. But what we landed on before we got those 50 miles home, we had decided, you know what? It doesn't matter whether it was better or not before we came today. It's going to be better, and everybody's going to know it's better after this. And I'm telling you, when I tell you, and Sheka can show you the same, we changed our minds about how things were going to work from there. You talk about keeping notes. We got notes. We got books. We got everything, because we're learning from someone who says, this is what you need to do. This is what I'm saying. It's all good, because you didn't stop at, oh, is your school better because you lead it? And we don't know if it is or not. What you say is it can be. So you've given us this hope to move forward on and in, and that's what we did. And because of that, this story is our story. It's our journey through some really difficult times, and we're very transparent. Sheka says it's the good, the bad, and the ugly of how we were able to navigate through some real difficult times, and how we learned from people like you. And I'm sure Sheka will even give some accolades to some other folks who have really impacted us. And these are people who don't know us, who've never met us before. Some of them we've never met in person, who just really pour into you, like, just because that's the thing to do. And when you're not used to that, Principal Kafele, you just don't even know that culture exists out there. So we're thankful for that spirit of collaboration that we want to make sure that everybody understands. And that book is going to be, I think, a powerful tool to help folks to understand how truly important collaboration is in the principalship.
I appreciate everything that the two of you said, and I'm looking forward to the book, because when we talk, everybody feels that loneliness at the top, and what you're saying is it just doesn't have to be, but we need the information to understand how to build those relationships, those collaborations with others, so that we're not at the top. So my next question, it may be redundant with your answer, but I'm still going to give it to you. Because one of the things I noticed, because one of the things about the speaking business, I study the business. I don't just prepare myself, right, in isolation. I know who's out there. I know who's doing what. So you guys have transcended from just being at the school level, the district level, to being presenters. So now that you're in that world, I study you, right? Like I would study anybody else. So I know your content. So here you speak about the need to not only discuss the wins in school leadership, but the losses. And this is, that's why I say it may be redundant with what was just said, but I wanted to go ahead with it anyway. The losses or the horrors, as well as helping a leader to grow, right? So in that context, so what I want to ask you, just to go a tad deeper, why the emphasis on the losses? Why the emphasis on the horrors of leadership, and not just the wins and making people feel good about being successful, so to speak? Anybody?
Oh, the losses are important, because with this leadership journey, and the people that are on here know, there's hills and valleys in this journey. So it's not always going to be a top thing where you're feeling the wins. You're going to have a lot of valleys as well. And if you're not hearing that other people are having those valleys, then you're sitting back thinking like, wow, what am I doing wrong? How am I messing up this much? So it's just as important to communicate the valleys as it is the hills and the mountains that you're experiencing, the success. You don't want to just portray the beauty and the glitz and the glam. And when people gain principalships, we're always congratulatory, because if that's your hope to do that, of course we're happy for you for moving into that position. But once you get there, it's also important to make sure that you understand that it's not always going to be something that's just a happy times. You're going to experience some lows, and in order to get through those, we wanted to communicate our journey so people could know, well, if they could get through that, I can get through it too. Just like you hear stories of triumph and success, that you can get through certain things because you've heard it happen with other people. So the story of it is really important. And that's what we really wanted people to hear, especially people who are in schools of promise, because a lot of times you're given such a heavy load just to, figure out on your own. And there's no roadmap. So as Tammy stated, we got together to try to figure that out. And we want to help other people do it, because people from afar were helping us.
Absolutely. And Sheka, I think that it's important probably for us just to go in and say, I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but this is how we decided, like, being in that low spot was what helped us to develop a resiliency about us, that we won't be defeated. Like we're going to get through this. It's going to work out. We know that no weapon formed against us can prosper. So we know what the end of this is going to be. We're going to come out victorious. So we're going to win. What we need to do is just persevere. Now we have to figure out how are we going to work our way through this? And through that, our resiliency framework was birthed. And that is included in our book, that is going to be, I think, very powerful for leaders to see that we've broken down. And Sheka likes to tell people why and how we keep it real, but keeping it real was important to us. And that became a focus. That being real was what happened as a result of us being at that low point, because it's great. The wins are amazing and it feels tremendous to experience those highs where you're just riding triumphantly. That's a great feeling, and we all know that. But when you're not at that point, you still have to survive. So you have to be prepared to face those low points and know that you're going to get through them. And that framework, I think, helps to make sure that people understand that you can and you will get through this. Here are some strategies and some tips that we have for you that can help you to navigate the process.
I love it. And before I comment, I kept that name up a little longer. Principal L, I stop for royalty when they show up. So Principal L is in the building, right? So listen, when the motivational message before we got started, anticipating, right? And the unexpected. Yeah, those lows, look somebody out there. Those lows, they're going to happen. Those losses, they're going to happen. Not they might. No, L says stop. those horrors are going to happen, right? So anticipate, expect that you're going to be here. But anticipate you're going to have them. And you kind of alluded that you guys went through some stuff, and folks know I went through some stuff too. But we on the other side of those particular storms. Could be some more coming.
Yes.
But you got to anticipate those storms when they come. Right, so good stuff. Let me we getting ready to get into the real. So that's I'm just leading up to it. But let me ask you this question real quick, because we talk about the why all the time. I'm gonna start with Tammy. Tammy, what's Principal Taylor? What's your why?
Oh gosh,
driving.
Yes, my why is just deeply connected to who I am, Principal Kafele, and I do what I do. That why just relates to who I am as an individual. I believe that I was born with purpose, and my purpose was to make things better. And the reason that I do what I do, the reason that I am a part of a duo that gives up the time that I give up on Saturday mornings, and I do anything I can to support what's going on, is because I know that I have a purpose to fulfill. So I am just truly at heart going to serve. And that's why I've committed my life to doing what I do. So my why is centered around just fulfilling my purpose that I know I was born to contribute. I'm trying to contribute what I believe I was sent here to do.
I love it. Dr. Houston.
Tammy and I grew up in and I see you have on a Cleveland jersey today. Now that's where I was born, Cleveland, Ohio. Yes. And even though I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, I was raised here in Chester, South Carolina. So as Tammy stated earlier, we entered education from business. It wasn't my original plan, but after working with some young ladies I was asked to do a self-esteem workshop through my sorority, and just working with them, I noticed in them that I saw myself, to be honest. I come from a single parent family. It was my mom and my sister. She moved here from Cleveland, Ohio to try to give us a better environment that she thought would be better. And it was a good place here, small center town. So I saw in them myself, and I wanted to be able to give back to the things in my area that I felt like be that person, that role model that I needed growing up. So I really in the principalship, I always had a saying that I would say to my students, I see you, what do you see? Because what I noticed in speaking with a lot of them, they didn't see the good. And I wanted to be able to build that up in them. And I also wanted to be able to allow other people to see how great they were. So I would tell them, what do you see? Your answer should be greatness, because at that point, a lot of them wasn't getting that, building up from outside parties. I wanted everyone else too to see the greatness, because in our area, a lot of times, because it's lower socioeconomic area, nobody expects anything great to come from here. So I wanted people to see our area, our students, for the greatness that they have in themselves. So that's very much centered in my why.
And if you don't mind, Principal Kafele, I know and this is your show, so we defer to you. But we also have a why that we have for our business, and I know that is supposed to be, and it is connected to why we do what we do. But we also have a why that is connected to create and educate, and I think we would be remiss not to say that the reason that we are the company that we are and we do the work that we do is because we want to pay forward what has been poured into us by people who, again, didn't know us at all. And we are certainly not able to call everybody's names that have really been inspirational in this journey that we've taken. But I mean, starting with yourself, but there was Principal Hurt, and that's a big part of the story, who didn't know us at all, don't know, like, we're two females from a small town in South Carolina. Both of us come from single parent homes. Like, who's to think, because people think, what good can come out of Chester? And that's what you hear people around us say, like, who are they? Chester? Principal Hurt I don't even know if he knew where Chester was. I don't know if he knew if we were in South Carolina. It didn't matter. He is just pouring into us. Like, let me share this with you. Sheka was able to contract with him for her school. I wasn't, because of some red tape that I was not able to actually enter into an agreement with him. This man sat with me for how long, Sheka?
Principal Hurt talked to us for 2 hours before we ever paid him a dime.
And just sharing. You got Dr. Akua, Dr. Sharon. I mean, you got people. Dr. Chester connected us for the first time to BER. Like, we were around all these amazing people, and we decided, like, you know what, this is how life is supposed to be. We're going to be a part of this dynamic. This is what we want to do. We want to pay forward. Just like these people don't mind investing and empowering people, that's what we want to do, because that work is very fulfilling, because it helps you to feel good about who you are and what you do, because you are pouring into so many other people who can benefit from what you know and what you've learned on the journey that you've been on. So we're just thankful for the opportunity to even be able to share that.
Powerful stuff. I love that you did share it. To the audience real quick. And matter of fact, let me ask the two of you. Y'all got some time?
We got time. We're gonna rock with you.
Rock with me. Listen to the audience, y'all. Hit them share buttons and retweets, because the mountain time and West Coast people starting to wake up now, right? So hit that retweet, hit that share. Let them know we going a while, because apparently from looking at all the comments, a lot of you are liking what you're hearing. But you know something? I'm only in the intro. I haven't even gotten to the meat yet. I haven't gotten to the body of this presentation. This has been all intro. We getting ready to get heavy now, right? So hit the retweet, hit the share. If you were getting ready to run out and do your Saturday things, just bring the phone with you, keep it plugged in your ear, and you can still hear. So, there's a name, and I'm ready. Hit that share, hit that retweet, let them know. Go to them Facebook groups, let them know that we're live, right? So, you guys reference Ron Edmonds a lot, right? I'm in the body now, y'all. We in the body. Mm-hmm. You reference Ron Edmonds. When I was when I taught in East Orange, my first year in East Orange, New Jersey, which is my home, my first time, because I had 2 first years. one in New York and one in New Jersey. But they were pushing this name, Ron Edmonds, and this phrase, all children can learn. And I'm a rookie. I don't know Ron Edmonds, so I'm doing my homework and I'm checking them out. And then as things come and go in school districts, Ron Edmonds kind of came and went, right? So nobody, as the administration changed, nobody was talking Ron Edmonds anymore. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really thinking about him a lot. And then here comes the two of you. And years later, Ron Edmonds. I said, I remember Ron Edmonds. So you started talking about him, and then with your real framework, you kind of, I guess it kind of emanated out of that research. So I had to go back to Ron Edmonds and listen to the things you were saying. So, in Ron Edmonds, for those of you that may not know, past director of the Center of Urban Studies at Harvard University. So the two of you talk about his 7 correlates, right? Let me just quickly read them. Mm-hmm. They're short. Clear. Number 1, clear and focused school mission. And when I say that, and I think about who I am as a leader, and folks that know my work know I'm a mission-oriented guy. Mission, vision, mission. But I never thought about where that came from. And I guess it came from back in them days when I was this young classroom teacher, and they were just instilling in us this school mission concept. So now so watch this. Clear and focused school mission. Safe and orderly school environment. That's me. High expectation. That's me. Opportunity to learn and time on task. Me. Instructional leadership. Everybody knows that's me. Frequent monitoring of student progress. That's me. And positive homeschool relations. I lived it. I said, man, my work is rooted in Ron Edmonds, and I never even gave it a second thought. Right. So when you guys started talking about it, I said, oh, okay. So here's my question before we get to real. What is the relevance of Edmonds' work to our audience this morning?
One thing that when we started in the principalship, I came into the principalship from, we had just changed over to a new accountability rating system. Our assessment changed. We had gotten a previous year before, maybe 2 years before, the Palmetto Silver Award for growth in schools. And then once everything changed over, we're sitting here now as new sitting principals, first year principals with unsatisfactory rated schools. And we're told, that it's our responsibility to get these schools back up to where they need to be. And, that's where we weren't really feeling a whole lot of support. It was almost as if we were like scarlet letter wearers of the district, and we were looked down upon. So in trying to find something that, like a roadmap, I stumbled across Ron Edmonds in my research. And to me, the why of why Ron Edmonds, when I researched him during the 1960s, there was a Coleman report that came out that basically stated African-American students could not learn at the same rates or to the level of their Caucasian counterparts. And what he did with his research of high poverty, high performing, high minority schools was completely refute that theory. So in our times where we're a lot of times in schools of promise, and we've gotten that term from you, and labels are really important, we have to make sure that people can see their way out of that. And his research proved that it can be done. So you talked about, Principal Kafele, how you were basically doing that. And you probably went through a lot to get to that, that point where you were doing that, successfully, a lot of quicks and turns. But what if someone had given you the roadmap to begin with? Hey, these are proven effective school strategies. And so that's why we wanted to be able to do that for other leaders, to be able to give them that support that we didn't have.
And that effective school research that Sheka was I'm talking about is so deeply rooted in everything that you will see in current research, like Marzano, the people who have followed. Now, there have been things that have come since Ron Edmond, and I think they've done some different adjustments with the correlates, but those school correlates are solid, and they allow you as school leader to really take a look at your school holistically. And when we were talking through and looking at some of the things, because again, that was for her dissertation work, because she is a collaborator, she shared, and we were able to start to look at those and even relate them to the way we were being evaluated as principals, because those things too are connected to what they expect you to be doing as a building leader. So those correlates really are helpful in framing the way that you set your mission and vision and get those collective commitments for your school, because all of those things, just like Principal Kafele just said, are things that really guide the work that you do as a school leader.
And I know that there's folks, some folks are asking, can anyone recommend a title by Ron Edmonds? Can anyone? Yeah. And also what book? I don't even know what's, just Google him, right? Yeah. Just Google him. Cause he's going back a few years, right? So just Google it. I'm sure you'll find a lot of things, a lot of his work right online. But I know there's someone that probably said, man, you went through them things quite fast. And then you talked about what were you again? Clear and focused school mission, safe and orderly environment, high expectations, opportunity to learn and time on task, instructional leadership, frequent monitoring of student progress, and positive home-school relations, right? And then, of course, you can watch the video later and slow it down and get all that. So now let's go to the real framework, REALL, keeping it real, right? You've developed this very powerful framework called REAL, REALL framework, where REAL is an acronym for the following strands: respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. Let me give you those again: respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. And you call this the 5 super strengths to a real resilient school, and hence the title of today's session, Leading a Resilient School. That's how I came up with that. The 5 super strengths to a real resilient school. I want y'all to take, get your pens now. I've been in intro mode, right? We in it now. That's why I'm going over it. Whatever it takes, I'm going over it. It'll be on video for those that can't stick around. Get your pen or get your phone, your tablet, your computer, because I'm gonna ask them to go in depth with this. We ain't skirting over this. I want them to go in depth. So my first question, you said respect is the door. Like you have that graphic, and it's got this door. So respect is the door to the excellence, the accountability, the literacy, and the leadership. So I want to go one by one. Strength. I'm sorry. Strength number 1, respect. What role does respect play toward becoming a resilient school? And don't feel that you have to be locked into my question. You run with it, right? But what role does respect play toward becoming a resilient school?
Respect is that door, because it is deeply rooted in the culture. And basically the culture is the foundation for everything. So Ron Edmonds really gives us that foundation and that research behind it. And we wanted to put more practicality with it, because it's easy to take those correlates but not really know how to institute them or what to do under each one of them. And there's several things that you really need under each of those to make sure that you have a school that's going to be successful and sustainable. And when you talked about the why with Ron Edmonds, because for people, and it was Tammy and I at the time, with schools that were not performing, we needed some hope. And that was hope that this has been done. It has been done with children that are like the children that we're serving, and it has been done over and over again. And we've got to make sure we're putting the right things in place. So with that respect, we make sure that there's a plan in place for you to have a great culture with your staff, your students, as well as your parents. And I'll allow Tammy to elaborate as well.
Yeah, we actually within that real framework, and that's the beauty of having a framework that is holistic, and it is really honing in on the resiliency is within the respect. When you go into that door, as Sheka said, because respect truly is the key to establishing a very positive culture. And somebody asked for some books. This isn't an admin book, but I would suggest if you're interested in any culture work at your school to listen and look at Grunert and Whitaker. They have some of the best information out there on creating a positive school culture. And there are several titles. We could put them in the chat for you guys. But Culture Rewired is one that I really, really love, and I've used a lot in my studies. So when we looked at what we were doing with Real, we also have 3 phases that are included in the book that will get you to a culture that is positive and productive for your school. And each one of those phases is built on that Real acronym where we're giving you strategies for getting that culture set up in your building, starting with a culture that is extremely toxic, because chances are that might be your reality when you step into a principalship. And if that's what you have to deal with, then you need to start at phase 1. And we go through and give you those suggestions and strategies for how to navigate that. And then there's a phase 2 and a phase 3 of that culture aspect, because again, that's what we had in mind when we were thinking about that respect, opening the doors for all the other parts of our acronym, the excellence, the accountability, the literacy, and the leadership. You have to have a foundation that is very solid. And that begins by creating and sustaining a really strong culture in your school and a climate that allows for you to have productivity and excellence in everything that you do in your school.
So that respect is key. It's the door. It's the foundation. It's the core, and everything built around that. Particularly in the context of the word you use, culture, the way we're living in that building. And then you went on to strength number 2, which is excellence. And I just want you to describe the power of excellence within the framework.
Yes.
Definitely going back to those correlates of having high expectations of student success. So you have to make sure everyone in your building is operating from the premise that your children can be excellent. And what I noticed in my root cause analysis when I was working with my school, we were going through those steps to try to figure out, how are we sitting here with the unsatisfactory and how do we get away from this? What I unpeeled was that the people at the school, the teachers, when we started talking about the community, the children and their parents, they didn't think that the parents cared about their children. And so I had to, it was kind of taken back a little bit because this is my community. And I'm thinking, well, no, that's not true, because I'm from the community. I've graduated with several of the members and, know their families. They care about their children. So if this is what you're thinking, this is part of the problem. And when you think that, people don't care about their children, you subconsciously may only put forth so much effort. So during that root cause analysis, we understood that there definitely has to be that mindset that everyone in the building, no matter where they are, inability levels, you have to have high expectations for all of your students for them to be able to achieve excellence. And a lot of times with the staff, it goes back to, what do you see when you look at the children? So that was my thing too about my question every morning. What do you see? And I would explain it, because I wasn't just explaining it to the children, I was also explaining it to the staff to make sure that entire shift was moving forward. The children seeing themselves a certain way. I need my staff to see the children a certain way. We've got to know that excellence lives here. So that is behind the premise of excellence as well.
And Sheka talked a lot about the way that we frame that for making sure that we know that all children can and will learn in our schools, and they need to grow. Like we're expecting them to grow at least a year's growth. It doesn't matter where they start. At the end of this year, I expect you to have taken these kids through a year's worth of growth and more if you can. But a second aspect of excellence, and this is very key also to being and becoming a resilient school, is that excellence also has to be a part of the mindset of the staff. Like excellence means like a state of greatness. It's the very best. That's who we are. We're the very best. So we're going to have to live up to this. This is what we're providing. If we're going to provide excellent service here, we're going to have to be at our best. What does that mean for us? What does that look like? And that's where we talk about how important it is to put systems in place for having a strong professional development growth plan for your staff and yourself, because you have to demonstrate excellence in order for there to be excellence lived out, because excellence is really a state of being.
And it even goes back to a lot of the work that Josh does with branding his school. I really had to rebrand the whole school, because even with the community thought, with the work of the entire team about the school and the children, it was not positive things. So everything that we sent out, social media, it was very intentional about making sure everything that we're doing is in the newspaper. I want everyone to see, everyone, that excellence lives at this school. And that's where we need to operate from when we're talking about our students and that expectation, and they rise to the occasion.
And the communication plan is a really important part of that marketing piece.
Oh man, that marketing is heavy. That excellence lives in this school, man. That's powerful. And I always like to talk about being excellent on purpose, being excellent by design, not just striving to get there, but this is what we're about. That's a different mindset. But see, that's to use the word again, that's building a particular culture. Let me go to that third one. Hey, somebody hit that share button, hit that retweet. I know we went a little over today. But we're gonna take our time with this one. So accountability, and you talk about. I heard Sheka say on one of the videos recently. You talk about inspect what you expect, and having systems in place to monitor student performance, student achievement, etc. What are these systems? And of course, I'm not asking you to do a whole seminar, but what do these systems look like, and how would one put that system in place?
Well, one of the systems that was very powerful at my school in order to help us be able to move forward, we put in a system of the students also being a part of the data conversations. A lot of times we sit around as adults and we'll have these large data notebooks. We'll throw the data all up over the walls, and we'll talk as adults about the conversations, but who we were leaving out were the children. So when we put in a system in place where the children are now knowledgeable of what does this MAP score actually mean? Or what does this score mean? Why is it important for me to grow every year? It's important for them to know where they are, because children do not, no matter what anybody says, they don't want to come in and they're just not wanting to learn. Children want to learn. They want to grow. They want to be better. I think sometimes what we have in place kills that creativity in them, and we have to make sure that we're able to allow them the space to still have that love for school and for learning, to make sure we're intentional about what they're learning about. So when we started giving them the data, and they actually are leading the conversations with their parents, instead of us sitting in a room with the parents coming in, and four teachers at the middle level sometimes is intimidating talking to a parent. Now, as the parent, I'm hearing it from my child. This is where I want to be. This is my data. This is how I want to get there. I, as the parent, am going to make sure, hey, this is what my child wants to do. I'm going to make sure that I help them get there. It's a different lens when you're hearing it from your child. So that system in place of the data portion, including the students, was a big game changer for us.
And I think in general, that whole accountability piece is so essential to the school environment, because we have to, and we're what we're talking about are some shifts in the mindsets that may currently exist in a particular space. Because a lot of times when people hear the word accountability, they take that offensively, because they think that you're trying to spy and check up on them. What we turn that into is, instead of that being the way that accountability sounds, when you talk about that with your staff and your students, you're really reframing that for them to take ownership. Like, we all own this process, so we all have a role to play. Accountability is simply you doing your part and making sure that you're acting out the part that you're supposed to play in this. And the part that everybody gets nervous about hearing is when you don't, that requires us to have a conversation. So we need to talk about what's happening, what's keeping you or preventing you from being able to live your truth here. And the same goes for our kids. Like, when we're talking to our children and we're including them in those data conversations, Sheka kind of talked about the academic perspective. I bring the children into the conversation with parents on attendance, on truancy, because you have children who are saying, I'm behind because I don't get to school until 10 o'clock every day. You know what? This is a conversation that we need to have. So I let the children take some ownership too, but we all, and I'm accountable. I'm accountable to you. You're accountable to me. When we have that level of accountability, then what we have is a new system in place, and we have these data protocols. We have protocols for what do we do when the kids aren't learning? What are we going to do when they already know what we want them to know? We have systems in place that help us to guide the practices that are occurring in the school every day.
Love it. Accountability. And there's so much more that we could say. And I'm gonna have you guys back on. And because there is so much more to say. But that word, as you said, Tammy, that word accountability, man, it's got that connotation to it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we have to explain, no, this is not a bad word. Mm-hmm. This is a good word. Mm-hmm. This is what allows children to be successful. This is what allows teachers to be great. This is what allows leadership to be great. So we got to get out of that thinking that, that this is some harsh, negative word that we got to run away from, fearful of, and all that kind of stuff. No, it's a good word. Mm-hmm. In terms of what our bottom lines are. Good stuff. And I forgot to stop. We had one more piece, one more person of royalty. I completely forgot to mention. I kept them there. Dr. Melissa Chester was in the building. I don't know if she's still here, but the president,
Dr. Chester.
Yeah, Black Educators Rock. I don't know if you're still here, Doc, but if you are, I just want to make sure that we see you, right? So let's keep moving. Where am I? Literacy And y'all hang in here. I see them numbers declining, but y'all hang in here for a few. We're almost done. Literacy is, this is just my interpretation. I could be completely off base here. But for me, literacy seems like, as I listen to your various videos, it seems like your big one, right? It seems like the one that you're most passionate about. I could be wrong, but I've listened to you, and I broke it up into an A, B, and C. And the two of you speak about literacy frequently. And my question is, what is the role of an AP toward ensuring literacy equity in the classrooms of the teachers he or she supervises? And I could have just said, what is the role of the leadership? But since I do have a focus on the assistant principal, I wanted to use that language. What's the role of the assistant principal toward ensuring literacy equity in the classrooms of the teachers that he or she supervises? What do you think about that?
I definitely think that, as you always talk about, the assistant principal is a great key to a lot of things that are happening in the building. And as they're evaluating data and looking at literacy equity, a lot of times what we found after visiting the Black Educators Rock and getting to know Dr. Akua's work and your work, sometimes we don't have the literature in place that is even intriguing to children because they don't see themselves in it. They don't recognize themselves in it. So one of the things that we became intentional about as leaders, and we made sure we got the teachers that training so they could also be intentional about it as well, making sure that everyone is represented somewhere in the literacy offerings. So assistant principals could definitely be a key part of that as they are working with teacher leadership teams, as they're working with teachers and building their capacity. That's an area where they definitely could help make sure that equity exists.
Definitely. And don't you think, Sheka, one of the things that would be helpful, like until BER, we didn't even know, like just getting in there and learning about what's out there so that you can be a resource to help teachers, because teachers don't always know. But if you learn what is available and what tools and resources are there to support learning and literacy in the classrooms, that will be a tremendous support to those teachers in their classrooms. And I would add, as a principal in an elementary school, I would say elementary APs, get into those early grade classrooms and make sure that you see what is taking place in those rooms is truly foundational in developing our students as readers, because that's one of the things that I know you said, Principal Kafele, we're running long, but one reason that Sheka and I have really spent the time that we spend on the piece for literacy, and we are very passionate about literacy, is because the statistics surrounding literacy are staggering. And when you look at those things and you're hearing about all of these kids, 2/3 of fourth graders, I think, are not able to read on grade level. And there's another statistic that says if you don't get them ready by
fourth grade,
they're almost unable to catch up. So we've got to make sure that that's what's happening in these early grades, so that when you don't see that that's what's happening, we go on and address it, or we intervene so that we're producing more readers. Because it's important for me to see that the kids, not just in my community, but especially in my community, are not being graduated functionally illiterate. We want kids to be able to read.
Yeah. So leader out there, AP, principal, whatever your capacity. Here's a question for you to own. as you walk your building, and given everything we said about how exhausting the work is right now, how frustrating the work can be, we still know we got a job to do. So as you walk your building, as you're in classrooms, as you're having pre and post observation conferences, here's the question. What is it about my leadership that enhances the literacy of every youngster in this building? Own that question. What is it about my leadership? Not what is it about me, but what is it about my leadership that enhances reading and writing for the youngsters under my leadership, the youngsters in my school, right? And remove the ego, like take it out, put it over here somewhere, and ask yourself the question, and that will dictate how you got to shift. Because remember, we said sometimes we just got to pivot, we got to shift. Like some things from back in the past just are not applicable anymore.
Gotta go.
Yeah, gotta let it go. So think about that. Own that question, right? And let me go to this is literacy part B. This is like my baby here. You often speak about children being exposed to culturally relevant reading material. This is y'all's thing here, where they see imagery that's reflective of them and storylines that speak to their reality. Why is this significant? And what is the role of the leadership in making this culturally relevant reading material their reality?
One part of the science behind reading, you have to be able to connect to a text to make sure that it actually means something to you, for you to be able to digest it, for you to be able to process it, to do anything with it, you've got to connect with it. So if you are seeing imagery that you're not represented in, or very at low percentages, the opportunities for you to be able to connect to it are minimal. So we have to be intentional about increasing that. And we learned that just, by being at Black Educators Rock and seeing Dr. Akua's, hearing your work, because we didn't even realize how low those percentages were, and that animals are depicted in books more than African Americans. So when you put that into context and think about a lot of the literacy problems that we have, this is a part of the problem. The other thing that we reflected on as leaders, a lot of the times the people that we do business with, they're not intentional about making sure that these things are accessible or available. So that's why we have put it as a part of our work to work with independent authors, that we just haphazardly discovered this whole new world of people out there that are independent book writers that have all of these titles, to make sure that they're getting into schools, because sometimes there's not even equity around who we're doing business with or how that vendor process goes. So we wanted to be intentional about making sure educators are aware about that. Just because they're not in your little catalog that you receive through the mail doesn't mean that you can't go outside and try to find some things that children are able to connect to in the text.
And we're talking about some high quality work that's out there. We work with some amazing people. And just to speak to the reciprocal of what Sheka was talking about our children seeing themselves in text, it's also important, Principal Kafele, for the reciprocal to happen. Everybody needs to see our children in text, so that significance becomes a part of the reality that says we're all important. Mm-hmm. We're all equally important, because just like Black children don't see themselves in text, their different ethnicity counterparts don't see them in text either. So that can be perceived in a way that says, well, I mean, they don't show up because they're not important enough to make the text. So when you start to see that, and that becomes a commonality, it just speaks to that whole respect factor, again, that we all respect and appreciate that these kids are important as well.
And I love it. And, we could do a whole session just on this letter B as it relates to the culturally relevant reading material, or just culturally relevant pedagogy. in a classroom. And we probably will come back and do a whole session just on that in isolation. Let me go to letter C question as it relates to literacy, the fourth strand in the framework. What role could an AP, I'm putting it on AP again, play toward ensuring that the learner is not being penalized in the learning process when the instructional methodology is not necessarily consistent with how the learner processes information? And I want to give you an example on that. I want to give the audience an example. A few days ago, I did my cardio walk, and there was an article in the New York Times on Derek Bell as it relates to critical race theory. And it was a very lengthy article. So I said, well, I don't know if I want to sit here and read all of it before, because I want to get this exercise in, because rain was in the forecast. So then I saw, oh, they have a recording so I can listen to it. It said 34 minutes. I said, okay, that's going to work for me. Although I also know how my brain works. So I went on and put it on, and I started my walk. I would say 15 minutes later, I was so frustrated that I turned it off and found something much lighter to listen to. Why? Because the information was too complex for my brain to process while I was walking. See, for me, I got to see words, right? That's just how it works for me. I can't do the audio on those tough, complicated topics. And this article dealt with a lot of history. It dealt with a lot of things I wasn't familiar with. And my brain is coming, the guy's speaking on the recording, and it's coming and it's coming and it's coming. And my brain is saying, whoa, it's too much, right? So I just disconnected it, put on something lighter, and did the walk that way. But I'm a grown man who's also an educator. What about that youngster that's sitting in the classroom that cannot verbalize the issue, and now everybody's saying the kid has a disability, or the kid is not focused, he's not studying, his mother's not engaged, whatever it is, all those excuses. My question to you again, in that C, why is this? No, that's the other one. Where's my question? Okay, what role therefore could the AP play to ensure that youngsters not penalized or subjected to instructional methodology that's inconsistent with his own unique way of learning, which speaks to equity in the classroom? All what I know.
And a lot of times the assistant principal is that person that is serving as the LEA on a lot of those meetings for the special services or the MTSS meetings. So they are the ones who are able to be that voice, that advocate, to say, hey, well, did you think about this? Have we tried that before we move on to XYZ? So I would say definitely being that advocate, being that voice, not being afraid to speak up, because sometimes in my assistant principal role, even though I was the LEA, sometimes when a district level person was there, they may have been trying to lead the conversation a certain way to say that, hey, this is how it should go. And some people, feel pressured to say, oh, that's a district level person, they know. So we are going to have to just defer to what they're saying. Don't be afraid to go against what someone is saying just because they're in a higher position. If they're wrong, you're that child's advocate, and in most cases have interacted with them the most. The other person probably hasn't had a lot of interactions with the students. Don't be afraid to speak your truth about children just because someone else is there and maybe wanting the conversation or things to go a certain way. You speak up to what you know is best for the child and have your data to support it.
I totally agree with Sheka. I think advocacy probably is the strongest way to be that person that ensures equity for those kids that aren't getting it through a traditional delivery. But I also would encourage you as the assistant principal to spend some time making sure that you can intervene when you see those kinds of situations happening and offer some engaging or more engaging ways to reach these kids. Talk to your teachers about differentiating, because we know that all kids don't learn the same way, and they definitely don't learn at the same pace. So if we could just be that person who speaks to the need of, and not just for literacy, this is for math and social studies, anything that is content delivered in the classroom, make sure that the teachers are providing engaging and high quality instruction to our students, because they deserve that.
I love it. Great stuff. Because we know that youngster is sitting in classrooms across America that is brilliant, that is valedictorian material, but he just doesn't process the information the way that the teacher is delivering the content, right? And that always has to be considered. And then when you couple in the B part of the question of, do I even see the relevance in what I'm being exposed to? Do I see myself in what I'm learning? Can I relate to it? Can I identify with it? Then you've got a whole other area to look at as a leader. So great stuff, great stuff. Let me go to the fifth strand, which is called, or the fifth strength, which is called leadership. And two things that you talk about are support leadership and moral leadership, right? I've heard you talk about it on video. Again, support leadership and moral leadership. What are both, and why are they important in today's climate?
So the whole why, like Tammy talked about, behind our company, behind the book, support was not something that we felt in our leadership journey. We were kind of like the outcast. We were wearing our unsatisfactory scarlet letters. We were told that, as principals, it would be our responsibility to dig ourselves out of the ditch. The district didn't have a report card. Those were our report cards and our responsibilities. And we also think it's important to say that the reason that we're telling this story is not because, we're trying to put anyone out there. We think that people don't do any better a lot of times because they don't know how to do any better. Sometimes you don't know how to support leaders. So the story where, we were told that we felt defeated. We felt like, wow, what do we do next? There's nobody to reach out to ask anything, because every time you ask a question, you're told, well, you should know that. So, I haphazardly came across Principal Hurt and his work, and we talked about how, the reason why we're doing this work is because when I reached out to him, this was a person who did not know me. He had not met me. Just from what I'm telling him on the phone that I'm doing in the school, he says, well, you know what? Sister Houston, you got some good things in place. We're going to go through your data. I'm going to show you how to tweak some things. You'll probably have it. No question about that, because what you're saying sounds solid. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a person who I've reached out to through Facebook, who I don't know, who has offered me more support than the people who are in my circle here, who are supposed to be supporting me. So, when you have that and all of your support is coming from the outside, the only thing that you can figure is, well, they must not be supporting me because they don't know how. So we want to make sure that a lot of times when people are afraid to tell these stories because they feel like, oh man, I'm going to be blackballed if I say something. I won't move up if I say anything. I won't XYZ if this happens. It's important to be able to speak your truth. And that's what we're doing. The only support we felt were from people outside. And that's how we were able to dig ourselves out of a ditch. And we really wanted to make sure that we were paying things forward. And recently, and I do have to shout out my current superintendent, Dr. Sutton, because until he came, I really had not experienced support from an upper level before. So I think it's important to tell the story, because I don't think it's people's intentions to not make people feel supported. I think that culture has come from the pressure that is placed on people in education from legislature. You know, you've got to be making this on your report card. You have to do XYZ, or you don't want your district to be at the bottom. So you continue to feed this and not really provide true support. But true support for leaders is needed. It's not a journey that anyone should be on by themselves. And that's why we are really intentional about making sure that people know you don't have to do this work by yourself. I used to work for a principal, and sometimes I would go by look through his door, and I was like, man, he just looks like he's about to, take a handful of pills. What is going on? Until you sit in that seat, you don't understand, you don't know. And when I got in the hot seat, I understood. So I want to be able to support people for the support I wasn't getting. I want to be able to support them because I needed that support. I could not have gotten through that without the people that I reached out to, without Tammy's TrustMate support. I wouldn't have gotten through it.
And the support, Principal Kafele, is, as Sheka said, such a magnanimous part of being able to really get your footing in a time when it seems like the foundation is slipping from under you. You're struggling and you're looking for something to hold on to that's solid. And usually that comes in the support of somebody holding you up while you can't hold yourself until the foundation settles. But and I have to echo what she said about Dr. Sutton. He is absolutely a supportive leader. He supports us as administrators, but he also supports us in the work that we're trying to do because he sees the bigger picture as well. So I'm super thankful for that. But the thing that I want to just reiterate that Sheka has said, like, this isn't about who said we would or wouldn't be able to come back from where we were, or who helped or who didn't help us. This really is such, to me, a bigger problem than that, because this is almost systemic in the fact that you don't see people who are supporting one another, and what you see are people who are competing with one another instead of developing those relationships where you can collaborate and you can be a part of a support system that helps you to get to that next level. And that just isn't there. It's competition, I guess, amongst the states, and then the superintendents are maybe competing with one another. Then that trickles down, and instead of us as principals being able to rely and support and lift one another, we are grasping at that top position. So we're all competing and we're doing this work in absentia of one another, when our mentality has always been you can only be as strong as your weakest school. So if we're not all doing excellently, we still have this school to bring on with us. And to me, that was very important. And we had to be encouraged by the fact that there are so many people who do support you. And again, didn't know us. They don't know us from anybody out there. We could say anybody USA. They just said, yep, here you go. You got this. You can do this. Here's some things that you can do, some things that you can work on. And I'm going to give you a classic example. I'm in my research for my dissertation. I am working using the Africana womanist theory. Dr. Clenora Hudson Weems is the person who developed that and is mastermind behind it. This woman does not know me, has never met me in person, we speak on a regular to make sure that I am good with where I'm going with that. She recommends books for readings and sends books if I need something. So there are people who are willing to support your growth as a leader. And that's the thing that we want to make sure that that story is told. And we tell it from this perspective of us as trustmates, because we want to show people that that sisterhood can be there. That's my next blog post for NWEA. It's about that sisterhood that should exist within the principalship. And instead of tearing each other down, we want to lift each other up.
I love it. I love it. And you know, as I'm sitting here patting myself on the back for the level, for the quality of research that I did in putting these questions together. Because here I'm on the last question, right? And so y'all hang out, because I want them to tell you their contact information, their resources. So hang out with us for a minute. But watch this question. This one is specifically to Tammy, right? It says, you are writing your dissertation on how Black women principals and their styles of leadership compare to their peers when determining the correlation between academic achievement and school culture and climate, right? So it's interesting how you brought that up when I'm on the last question, and it was a question specifically for you. And my question is, what is the significance of this research to our profession?
So thank you for asking, because the importance is this, and it's simple. Related back to what I was just saying, we have to, first of all, give voice to the principal who is a Black woman. There isn't a lot of research that's out there right now on Black women principals. So that's the first thing that is going to be significant about having a study that says that we want to see how my style of leading, based on the leadership that I provide in my school, can, or how is it different? Is it the same as my peers in comparing my achievement when I'm looking at my climate and culture? So it's very important in the sense that we also want to make sure that this is a part of the new narrative. The theory that I'm using, that Africana womanism, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's amazing. And one of the things that Dr. Hudson Weems has outlined is the Africana woman is a self-definer. She's a self-namer. So as a self-definer, as a self-namer, what we want to do as Black women is be able to tell about those lived experiences that make us the people that we are, that help us to develop that style of leading that we have, that might be the same or might be different from that of our sister who is at the school next door. But whatever those styles are and however they relate to you, giving respect to the fact that those 18 attributes that you're going to find in that theory are a part of the fabric of who we are as African American women principals. And that clearly defines how we decide our leadership needs to look. And what I do with that when I bring that to the table, how I lead, making sure that my academics are where they need to be in my school, but is that at all impacted by that culture and climate in the school? Because we're going to be doing a direct comparison just to see exactly what that looks like. So I think the work is really important, just to give voice to the fact that this space needs that attention and that story needs to be heard, so that people can, and even in, like, we're talking to these new leader preparation programs, so that people understand this is something that we have to make sure is a part of the discussion when we are providing our new or aspiring principals with the way that they can go into their schools and be successful. Give some respect to the fact that it does matter. Your lived experiences matter, who you are and how you lead. And it's okay, because you are the person who names you. I don't have to answer to any name that I'm called other than the one that I give myself.
Woo! That's that sounds like another topic that we may want to revisit and just talk about. And matter of fact, maybe even I put together a panel and we talk about Black women in principal leadership. Right. That's a discussion that needs to be had. I know that some have it, but I want to have it on this platform as well. So I look forward to what emanates out of your research.
Thank you.
That's powerful stuff. We're at the end. And I want to turn it over to you guys. Let them know where they find you, what your resources, just everything that folks need to know.
And we survived, Sheka.
Yes. Thank you, Principal Kafele. This was an honor. And it's Tammy and I talk all the time about how, God has just aligned so many things. We talked before about, wow, we need to be talking about Black women in the principalship. And then you just say that out of your mouth. So all of this work that we're doing, we don't think that it's haphazard. We definitely think that it's needed. It was designed. And if you want to reach us, our website, you can reach us on all platforms through there, www.createandeducate.solutions. The book that Tammy and I explain our journey in and what that process felt like of being in an unsatisfactory school, how we were treated, the support that we needed. All of that is spelled out, and I say it's the good, bad, and the ugly because it is. We tell the whole story, and it's not again to try to put anybody out there, but we want people to know this is what you're doing to people, and if you want people to really improve, you don't have to try to destroy them with, we're going to put you back in a classroom or we're going to put you on this improvement plan. People really need true support. And, they really want the children in the school to do better. And if you can't show them how, you kind of got to question, if you should be there. So if you want to purchase that book where we also outline a framework for how to collaborate as leaders, because a lot of times we think collaborating is just kind of like posting the questions on the Facebook groups, but we are more intentional about making sure you're one another's accountability partners. The book, it doesn't have to be lonely at the top, can be reserved. If you reserve it today on our website, you get 20% off. And again, it releases in December. The Lunch and Learn Principal Kafele has put up, and we will put everything up as well in the comments as soon as we leave the broadcast. But our website, www.createandeducate.solutions, is where you can best easily connect with us, purchase the book, and see our work that we do with schools through professional development.
And some of that work that Sheka mentioned before, it's listed. Did you mention the catalog the catalog is also going to be here?
Yes.
You can also find that on the website. And I just have to say, to echo Sheka, Principal Kafele, we are so honored and thankful to have had this opportunity. And just to close with that whole thought of the Lunch and Learn, we're super excited about that. And as Sheka said, Dr. Chika Akua is going to be present, virtually present, and Dr. Gil Nome. I am honored to have two very distinguished and amazing women from the University of South Carolina who have been very impactful and so helpful in my work, and they continue to just inspire. Dr. Susie Hardy will also be a part of that discussion, as well as Dr. Katie Cunningham. So we're really excited about this event, and we hope that you guys can join us.
And one more thing, Principal Kafele, for those people who are like us or were in the situation that Tammy and I were in, where we needed some hope, we needed some encouragement, keep doing what you are doing every Saturday, because some people tune in and you are their hope. You are their support. Yes, because you were that for us. So don't ever think that what you're doing is not impactful, because it impacts people more than you will ever know.
It matters. So thank you.
Same with you. Same with you. You keep doing that strong work as well.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you all. I appreciate the audience. Let me close out. You guys don't leave me. Hang on a second. Folks, another great session. We went 2 hours today, but that's all right. That's, it is what it is. But another great session. Make sure you check out that Lunch and Learn next week. Principal Sean Hurt. You heard his name mentioned many times today. That's my guy. So he'll be with us next week. We're going to be talking data and a whole lot of other things. So tune in, mark your calendars, 10:55 Eastern next week. Again, I'm not going to leave without one more time. The Equity and Social Justice Education 50, the Aspiring Principal 50, or we could call it the Aspiring Assistant Principal, whatever you like. And then the Assistant Principal 50, Amazon.com. BarnesandNoble.com, principalkafele.com, or ASCD.org. Visit principalkafele.com for all the resources. Remember, look out for the commentary tomorrow on Virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page. I have that up before 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's part 2. Part 1 is always the broadcast. Part 2 is always the commentary that's written. Like and follow the Virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page, and subscribe to the Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel. All the videos, all 73 of them are sitting right there. So if you've missed any of them, just go back and check them out. They're all there. And then take care of your diet and get in that exercise. I was out there at 8 o'clock this morning doing mine, so I'm good for the day. I can take it down and chill because I got a flight tomorrow and we're going to have a long week. Maybe I might be in somebody's city coming up this week. But other than that, y'all, I'm not going to get deep into the COVID precautions. You know what they are. Make sure you're doing the right thing and making the right decisions along the way. The mask, the distancing, all that kind of stuff. If, I won't advocate the vaccine. You do what you got to do. I'm vaccinated. Let me say that. I don't think I've ever said that. I am fully vaccinated. And if they do give a booster, I'm just going to put it out there. I don't have a problem being transparent. I'm too old to be trying to hide stuff, man. I'll be 61 next month, right? So let me tell you something. If I had a heart attack and I have type 2 diabetes, right? So if they say that folks in my category need a booster, I'll be the first one in line. I'll put it out there, right? So all of you, the non-vaxxers, and you don't like what I'm saying, that's on you. I ain't mad at you. Pac said, I ain't mad at you, right? But I'm saying with me, I'm vaccinated. And when it's time to take the next one, I'll be there, right? And if they say the booster, I'm in. But that's me. I'm not trying to push that on you. That's me. So with that said, look here, have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back all the way. Count the 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! Once again, thanks to Dr. Houston and Principal Taylor. They brought the heat. And we see you all next Saturday morning, 10:55. Tell a friend, tell a colleague, tell a family member, tell somebody to be here with us. Stay safe, and I'll see you then.